All right, guys, we're doing our quiz today. So I'm going to go through one at a time for the people who's here on my screen. Asking the questions, you guys take a guess or answer it if you know, and then I'll reveal the real answer. And we'll keep going from there. We'll have a discussion about it if we feel like it's necessary or not. So on my screen, starting with Priscilla.
Do I need my audio on for this, or can everyone hear me all right?
I think everyone can hear you.
Everyone can hear? Okay, because
All right, Priscilla. Who is the head of the art department?
The production designer.
Production designer, yes. All right, Raphael. When is a production designer hired on for a project? Like how early on?
Pre-production.
But how early in pre-production?
Oh shoot. I do not know.
And take a guess.
A year? I don't know.
A year after pre-production starts?
No, before?
Sort of. They're like one of the first people you will hire on whenever you are getting ready to start pre-production. Or they're even hired on in development sometimes, depending on what they need. You know, if they're trying to do like a big pitch and they're putting a lot of money into it, they might hire on a production designer to help them with some of the graphic design type stuff.
Yeah, because they're the ones that are going to help you get the look of your film and the vision across and all that.
Yeah, so they're one of the first
Gotcha.
people that get hired on to help shape the film before everyone else starts piling in. All right, Brian, what is one of the best ways, if you're able to get a distribution deal on your film? What is one of the best things that you can have that's going to make distributors want your film?
Gosh, I don't know that the necessarily technological term for it, but you would want everything. They want to see the numbers.
Yes.
They want to see the numbers, the plan or whatever the.
Yeah, definitely. I would say I was going to, like, one of the things I was going to say, having named actors or crew.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
okay.
it draws them in very quickly. It draws in people, but yeah, definitely having a plan is.
There's a
Having
name.
plan, showing them the numbers, showing them the pre-production that you put in is definitely important as well.
Definitely, yeah. It's just because everyone
Yeah.
kept saying, like, one of the first things they're going to ask you is who's in it,
Yep.
or who's involved with it,
Who's in it?
Yeah,
Who produced it?
they
Who
ask
directed
you
it?
who's
that.
financing it.
They ask you that to get an estimate on how much they think they're going to make. So that's one of those things. Oh, you got this guy and his net worth is however much, then that's what they're going to use to try to determine how much money they think they're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
How much audience gets drawn in from this person, and how much can we splash their name over it? Like they do with some people who aren't even involved, really.
Yeah, but I thought there was like a term for it, like a net value or something like that.
There's some
like
some
net
kind of term
worth?
for it. Not net
Yeah, there's
worth.
Net worth?
not necessary. Is it net worth?
No,
Where they're
it's
trying to
something-
get like an
because their net
estimate.
worth is like how much money they have.
Do you want to look it up?
But like,
It's based on assets, I think.
yeah, but like it's more for film, it's more based on like how big of a
Oh,
draw
okay.
their name is. You know, if you throw out
Yeah.
this person's name, how many people are going to be interested in seeing it just because that person's involved?
Should
kind
I
of
look
thing.
up something, or
I don't know I don't know how to look it up. I think there is, but I don't know what the exact term is. All right, V. Are all distributors the same?
No.
No. Some are only digital, some specialize in certain genres, some do theatrical and home video, and some are more legit and well established, while some are just started.
I would have asked her to elaborate. I'm sure she had, before giving the entire answer.
All right, well.
I'll give her a chance to expand.
Gabe, you get a harder one. What is
no.
Exactly. That's why I wanted you to expand on it, because then she would have gotten the easy one.
all right, what
That
is
sounds good.
TVOD? TVOD.
TVOD. Yeah, that's a hard one. Do you have like can you give like hints?
It
It's a new-
stands for something that it's for distribution. It's for where you're gonna put your film and how it distributes.
Oh, I was kind of close.
Okay, isn't that a part of the digital cinema package?
No, but you are semi. I mean, that's for theaters, but you are getting closer. So does anyone want to take a guess?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
like
Do you want to keep guessing?
Yeah, one more guess.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
So after, can this be for the post production?
It's for distribution, so it's after post.
Oh, yeah, I'm lost. Nah, I need help.
All right, does anybody else want to take a guess? TVOD, TVOD.
Well, if it's anything like a digital cinema package, it'll probably have something to do with something similar along those that term with it sounds like something that's streaming.
Yes.
Oh,
Streaming platform. So I guess it's kind of like getting all your checks, all your ducks in a row to make sure everything is going to stream. You know, Netflix has their little
No, but you're really close. So it is streaming. It's just a certain type of streaming.
Oh, he said something.
oh, it's a type of streaming. Oh, I was gonna say theatrical.
Close, but no. All right, so does anyone want to guess? Take another guess. Priscilla,
Yeah. Well, I know part of it.
go.
It's
Maybe.
video on demand, right?
Yep, video on demand. That's what VOD stands for, but the T stands for a specific kind of video on demand.
And that's what I was trying to remember.
It's not like you make a transaction, is it?
What was that?
No, it's not like any. Well, they're all transactions, so never
That's
mind.
it.
Oh,
Transactional video on demand.
oh.
No, that part, it's like the answer's right there.
Does anybody know what that would be if you're talking about
No.
a streaming service of any kind?
Well, like
Well, then-
pay-per-view?
Like
Yeah.
a transactional video on demand would be a certain kind of a way to view it for the audience, for the client.
Huh. Like a subscription or something? Like a Netflix or something?
No,
Like
see,
a-
that is SVOD.
Oh.
Subscription-based video on demand would be SVOD. So that'd be Netflix, HBO Max, whatever those ones are that you subscribe to the
What about Redbox?
Redbox. Yeah, Redbox on demand, not the actual like Redbox.
But it wouldn't be an SVOD, right? Because it's not a subscription. It's more of
No, he's talking about TVOD.
Oh, okay.
All right, so transactional video on demand means that you are either going to rent it or you are going to buy it. So Redbox has that with Redbox on demand. Amazon has that. YouTube, you can go on there and rent a movie for like $3, and I think you can buy it and put it in a digital library. That's what TVOD would be. SVOD, we already answered that one. Does anyone know what AVOD stands for? So it's in the same family group.
AdSense. It's a thing with ads, right?
Advertising based video on demand.
Yeah, so it's like ad-based services like Tubi or YouTube or
YouTube, the free version, yeah.
yeah.
So that would be like a free streaming service that you don't have to pay a monthly fee for, that has ads to help support whatever the content is, like Tubi or Crackle or some of those other free services. So yeah, TVOD, SVOD, AVOD. You'll hear that all the time if you're trying to post online somewhere with your movie. All right, back to Priscilla. Who leads? You always get the leads. Who leads the TV show creatively and budgetarily?
Showrunner?
Yep. What else are they known as? That's a given title. What is their actual credit?
Television producer?
Yep.
Executive producer?
Executive producer, yes. All right, Raphael. What is the difference between a film director and a television director? Well, what are some differences?
Longer spans. They're hired longer.
Yes.
Um, there's a showrunner above them.
Yep. On TV.
Hmm. So the hierarchy is different.
Yes.
Okay.
Very different.
I think that's about all I got.
All right, yeah. So you basically nailed it. So it's a TV. What I have is a TV. They aren't there for the whole process. They only direct an episode or a few episodes in a season. So they don't direct everything usually. Whereas a film director, obviously they direct the whole film, so they're over the entire process. And on TV, because of that, and because the hierarchy is different and they have a showrunner above them, they don't have nearly as much creative freedom as they do on a film, because they have to, on a TV, they have to blend it with other people, other directors' episodes. Whereas on a film, it's all theirs. So they can kind of do whatever they want.
They
Well,
don't have
as
as
much as the
creative
producer
control,
lets,
basically.
or the executives. Right.
Also, if anyone else does want to guess, we're going a little quicker because it's a lot of questions and I don't want it to go too long. But if anyone does want to guess, we can like give a couple seconds if you want to put in the chat, like, oh, can I guess? Or can I try if you want to? Because that way it's not like everyone awkwardly being quiet. Well, it's like, oh, does anyone want to guess? No. You know. And we end up being here till 2 in the morning.
All right, Brian. In color theory, what is it called when the colors look good together if they're picked from part of the color wheel? They give it a certain name.
Color harmony.
Yeah, correct. Color harmonies. Does anybody remember some of those or any of those? The names of some of the color harmonies out there.
I do.
Go ahead.
Complementary,
Yep.
split complementary,
Yep.
analogous,
Analogous.
analogous, monochromatic.
Yep.
This one I can't really spell. Triadic,
Yep.
or is that okay? And I can't make out this quadratic. I'm missing one.
Quadratic and tetradic.
Tetradic. Yeah, I can spell that one.
Yeah, that was all of them.
I was gonna
Or that was most of them
Hey,
anyway.
thank you.
Great job.
Let me just say, like, I do have to say, Gabe, you're new, but like, dude, you've been doing really good. I gotta congratulate you.
Oh man, I'm
You're a great
I'm happy
student,
you
bro. Like,
realize
really,
that.
yeah, you're a really great student, and you've been learning really well.
Thank you. I try to be a teacher's pet. Like I go a little extra.
Mission accomplished.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Next question. V. When color grading, are you using additive or subtractive color mixing?
Well, I thought that was based on like the harmony thing.
No, in
But-
color grading and like post-production, you're going to be using a certain type of color mixing.
Subtractive.
Nope.
Oh,
It's
okay.
additive. So subtractive is like mixing real things like paints or dyes or something in like the physical world, because additive is when you're mixing light together. So when you're mixing for color grading, you are using RGB, which the cameras used, your screen on your computer uses, because they are giving out light. And so they use light to mix the colors and make it look like any color in the spectrum. Whereas when you're mixing dyes and you're mixing paints and stuff like that, the way we see color in the real world is we see the reflected light that comes off of that object. So the more you mix it, the less light it's getting reflected and the darker it gets. Whereas when you're mixing light together, the lighter it's going to be getting.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Gabe. Which color mixing does a production designer need to think about? Additive or subtractive?
Okay, what? Let's repeat that again.
Which type of color mixing will a production designer need to think about and keep in their mind during production, pre-production, and all of that? Additive or subtractive color mixing?
Well, additive.
Correct and
Because-
incorrect. It's a trick
because-
question. So it's actually both.
Right, because also if you're gonna do the clothing that they have on,
Mhm.
that would be subtractive
Yep.
or print. So both.
Yeah, any kind of print, any kind of props, set dressing, costuming, all of that stuff, making the sketches, everything's going to be subtractive in that case. But when we're talking about, okay, now it's going to be put under these lights with the cinematographer, what color lights are they using? And then in the color grade, what's going to happen? Then they also have to consider what's going to happen with the additive side of the color. So yeah, trick question, but both. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we talked about this a few weeks ago. It was basically like,
Talked about it Monday.
oh, well, we talked about this throughout the whole semester, really.
Yeah, I know.
About how different things can affect the color of the clothing that the person is using, of the background, different lightings, different, like how it's edited.
Not even just different lighting, but different surrounding colors.
Yeah, so it might change the initial color that you had in mind. So those are all things that need to be taken into consideration.
All right, Priscilla,
Yes.
what is the difference between a producer rep and a sales agent?
Well, they basically do very similar jobs, right?
Yes.
Crap, I know this. A producer rep. Crap. I knew this, remember? I got it right. Okay. You know I suck at the terms, okay?
All right, you want to explain?
So either way, they are basically helping see the value of the film, sell the film, right?
Yes.
And the difference is one has more work than the other.
I mean, I don't really want to say that. I would say yeah.
Or, like,
Yeah,
different
actually, definitely,
responsibilities.
definitely. Not different responsibility, but one's going to be with you a lot longer than the other one. Does anyone else want to take a guess at what it would be? What's the difference between a producer rep and a sales agent? And we're talking about distribution. Oh, V said in the chat, she said, producer rep is domestic, sales agent international. Bing, bing, bing.
There you go.
Yeah, so producer reps will be like a domestic sales agent. Some people title themselves as sales agents and they are domestic sales agents, which means they sell in either your country or your continent. And it just depends where you make the film. Like for North America, it's usually all in one. So you're like America, Canada, sometimes Mexico, but that's a little here or there maybe, depending on the sales agent. Other places, domestic sales agents just do it within their own country, or producer reps, same thing. But a sales agent, like an actual sales agent, they do international distribution. So they're going to try to sell to distributors all over the place. A producer rep is going to be with you until they get that one sale, because they're not really going to be selling to a bunch of different distributors, depending on what kind of distribution you're doing. They'll sell to one distributor or two, maybe, depending on like how specialized you want to get. And then they're done and they're not really going to be part of your production or your distribution anymore. But a sales agent, international, can be pretty slow and they can go spot to spot and have long-term deals and things like that. So a sales agent will be your partner for a really long time because they're doing international. Raphael, when making distribution deals, is it better to split up the rights or sell all of them to one entity?
I would say sell them to one entity.
So generally speaking, most people say it's the opposite. They say it's better to split up the rights unless it's a major studio or a major network that's going to give you a great deal to buy all of the rights. Usually for independent films, you want to split up the rights because you're going to be able to specialize it a bit more.
Your chances of making a profit are larger.
Certain distributors and sales agents or producer reps are better with online distribution compared to theatrical. So if you're trying to do both, you might want to split it up. Others, it's better to split up territories and stuff like that to make it someone be domestic and give the rest to international, because if you give one to both, they're usually not specialized at doing both, and so it can hurt your sales. Not always the case, but that is the general consensus.
Basically, it's just if you sell to multiple of them, you just have a larger chance of making at least some money back because one of them might.
Well, you're more specialized and you're able to make multiple deals. It just takes a lot
But
longer.
it is, me and Coda did discuss this, like when we were talking about it. It is very much like it depends on the circumstance more than anything, I would say.
Yeah, like I said, if Disney or HBO is coming to you and they're going to buy out your thing, just most likely, if they're giving you a good deal, just give them all the rights. But if you're able to hold on
Yeah,
to some rights, definitely do that
Major
too.
companies prefer to have everything because if they're investing in you, it's going to be a lot of money probably, and they would prefer to just own everything off the bat if they're making that big of an investment, which makes sense.
All right, Brian, what are average TV show budgets for, well, I'll start by doing like categorizing it for low end hour-long shows. So on the cheaper side.
I really don't have enough. I really don't know. I'm gonna
You can just
say,
do an informed guess. That's fine.
yeah, I'm just gonna say about 2 million per episode.
Yeah, that's exactly what they say. Yeah, there's about 2 to 3 million per episode on the cheaper end for hour-long episodes. High end, any guesses? Like the expensive shows, dramas mainly for hour-long shows.
60 to 100 mil.
No, it's not that high.
What kind of show you
So
make?
wait, are you meaning for the whole season or the episode?
Probably the whole season. So like if you're, I'm guessing like shows like Game of Thrones, the longer show, the ones that are more like on the movie side, as opposed to, which show are you specifically talking about? Like sitcom, or are you talking about
No, I'm talking about stuff like Game of Thrones, Netflix hour-long dramas like that. What's the Castle one called?
The Crown?
The Crown. No, there's also like something called The Castle or something like that. I don't know, but like the higher end, and so it'd be around what you said, depending on the show. But they say like 5 to 7 million is average per episode on the higher end. And now it's going up way quickly with all these streaming shows coming out, which is like 10 to 12 million per episode. I think 10 million for Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
for
but
their
it'll
final
also
seasons.
probably crash again because there have been a lot of new stuff talking about how it's not sustainable and how they're hemorrhaging money at this point.
The last data point I have is for half-hour single camera shows. Any idea for that? Any guesses?
To Brian or Abby?
To Brian.
Single camera, and that's still like movie cinematic shows or something like that.
Yeah, half-hour single camera shows. So it could be a sitcom, just single camera sitcom like Scrubs. Or
I'd bump that down to like $6-7 million an episode. Yeah.
no, they say like 1.5 to 3 million an episode.
Oh wow.
Obviously, it's going to depend on the show, but just averagely.
On average, it does make sense though, because most dramas have a higher production because they either have more locations, they either have a higher production value. They have those dramatic looking like images and cameras and stuff. The color grading is different. So like it makes sense that a show that is only like 30 minutes, oh, it's also half the time. So it makes sense to me at least that it would be cheaper because you have half the time and more and just it's probably more of a day-to-day basic.
I think it's also that there's more episodes in the season usually when it's half hour, so they're trying to do like, because they do a budget sort of by the whole season, they just break it down per episode. So because when they order a season, they don't want to have to put double the amount of money for a sitcom or something.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
so how much do you have a number on how much an entire season would cost? Because I would have to imagine that they would kind of like go by the season to kind of like compare it to a movie, I guess. I don't know.
I don't, but if we're saying that hour-long shows, seasons are usually about 8 to 10 episodes, then from about 7 million, that would be like 50 to 70 million
Okay, and then like
average.
that sounds about the average movie, and then you have the bigger blockbuster ones which go for like a couple hundred million.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like each season is like getting close to being like a feature of some sort, just divided up into episodes and stuff.
Just divide, yeah, exactly. Just divide it up a little bit more throughout spreaded content.
Okay.
Which is why it's cheaper looking, usually, is because there's a lot more to fill up. Like 9-10 times the amount. But yeah. All right. So V, your question. Are all shows writing rooms the same?
All shows? No.
Would you like to
Um,
elaborate?
yeah, sort of. I think that maybe smaller and larger depending on like the context and like the story Bibles and stuff.
Mhm.
And then maybe depending on the budget, like there may or may not be like a writer's PA or just like certain like departments.
Certain time, like spread it out a lot. Bigger budget.
Oh,
Yeah, like something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
That's all I know.
Okay. Because
Oh,
all right, and then the other thing I have is that some writers' rooms they hash out all of the episodes all together before going out and assigning them to different people. Others they hash out the first episode, and when they have it figured out, like the outline, they assign one of the writers to go off and write it, and then they start working on the next episode, and they assign somebody to go do that one. So everybody's at the end, there's only a few writers in the room finishing the season. And other writing rooms, they hash out the entire season first and then all disperse and do their own episodes. And yeah, just like V said, the budget will really depend on like, and also how many episodes there are will depend on how big the writing room is, and how big it is will determine how many titles you need to make sure you know who's above who and what the hierarchy is within that writer's room.
Is it also based like on how many or how many episodes are ordered too?
I would believe so.
Okay,
I
thank
know
you.
like sitcoms always have bigger writers' rooms. It seems like because they have so many episodes to work out and they need people to be assigned those episodes. So they usually have like the whole big table in the writer's room where like the 6-episode dramas that are coming out, they usually, I've only seen a few 4 to 5 writers maybe work on those because there's really not that many episodes to go through. All right, Gabe. What are the primary colors of additive color mixing?
The primary color of additive.
Yeah.
Is that the main color that you use, like for your set? Like if you find a that main one color and then you work around that.
So these are the
Around that.
main colors that you can make any other color, because you start with these three, and with these three colors you can create any other color in the spectrum
Yeah,
with additive color mixing.
right.
So
I mean,
what are these three colors?
oh, oh, blue,
Yep.
red, yeah, red, green, and blue.
Yes. Yep. RGB. So that'd be
RGB.
additive color mixing. Cameras use it, like I said. Your computer uses it. Your phone uses it. RGB. So red, green, and blue, if mixed together in different amounts, will create all the rest of the colors whenever you are mixing color using additive color mixing. Priscilla, back to you.
Yay.
What are the primary colors of printer ink, which is subtractive color?
Magenta, cyan, and yellow.
Yes, and black.
Right.
Because
You
they,
said three, so.
no, I said, what are the primary colors?
Oh, well,
I
before
said
that,
three to him because there was
Yeah.
red, green, blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. Black because they could get it with using those cyan, yellow, and magenta, but it would just use so much ink to get it, and it would never be as crisp and clear looking. So they just add black as a primary to start from, so they can easily print really clear black shadows on their pictures and things like that. But yeah, that's CYMK, and printers use that all the time. Raphael, what are the primary colors of paint, which is also subtractive?
Man, I knew the last two, but I'm stuck on this one.
Take a guess.
Um,
No, I'm just kidding. You want to take a
Not
guess?
letting you leave without a guess.
It's probably not that cyan basic thing.
So it has actually kind of debated. Some people do use cyan, magenta, and yellow, and some others use these other three colors as their primaries.
Red,
Yep,
blue,
yep,
yellow.
yep, yep. RBY. Red, blue, and yellow is for paint. So because of this, because there's different primaries for these different things, if you are looking to do any kind of color mixing with these, just make sure that you pick select the correct color wheels. That you're not working with an additive color wheel when you're trying to do subtractive color mixing, because it's not going to work out. It doesn't have yellow as one of the primaries. Also, if you take the primaries of the additive color mixing and you mix them together, you get the primary colors of subtractive color mixing, and vice versa for the red, yellow, blue anyway. All right, Brian, what is a completion bond?
I guess all the fun questions.
I'm assuming that it's a bond that says everything is complete.
That everything
I
will
don't-
be complete.
You almost got it. No.
So it's like a super contract or a contract outside of the contract that says you will do what it is that you're gonna say that you're gonna do.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a guarantee from a completion bond guarantor company to banks and distributors that if the producer doesn't complete and deliver the film on time, then they will pay them back the money that they spent. So the bond company takes on a huge amount of risk and says, you know what, we believe this producer, this production company is going to finish the film on time and deliver it. And even if it's not to quality standards of like, you think the story's crap, the distributors think the story is crap, they still have to agree to buy it in that kind of agreement. A completion bond is usually used when there's a minimum guarantee in place. And so they're going to, or there's a pre-sale. I mean, so the distributor is going to already makes a deal to buy the film as long as it meets certain technical requirements and they need it by a certain date. And that's where they, and the bank that you get the loan from, they want a completion bond company to look over everything and take on the risk and say, you know what, we believe they're going to do it and get it to you on time. So we will take on the risk and say, if they don't, we'll pay you back. They can also take over your production if you are running it in the ground and doing terribly with schedule and budget. Because they are taking on so much risk, they don't want to do that, but they will if they have to, because they're putting a lot of money on the line. V, what are some of the different rights that you can split up when you're distributing? What kind of rights can you split in different deals?
Maybe like, is it territory? Like,
Yeah, that's one.
possibly like where you're gonna have it distributed at.
Yeah.
Like
Method of
okay.
distribution.
Right. Like what, like if the movie were to develop into like a sequel or something, or like if it were to have merchandise or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe?
That's that ancillary.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, so like she said, territories, you can split it up between countries and different things like that. The methods, whether you want to just let this distributor distribute online, or whether they get to do home video, which is like DVD and Blu-ray, whether they get exclusive rights to that or not. Theatrical, of course, and then ancillary rights, which is all of that stuff like merchandise and sequels and comic books and video games. And those ancillary rights can be split up a lot if you have a big IP. Like Star Wars can be split up completely. Marvel, you know, all these huge IPs can be split up by character. They can be split up by video game, t-shirts, anything. You can split it up however many times you want. So ancillary rights can really go far if you have a strong IP behind you. But the rest of them are the main ones that independent filmmakers will be considering. But ancillary rights also, like V said, is sequels and prequels. So you want to be sure that you're not just signing those away to a distributor, because then if you do end up getting successful enough to where you want to have a sequel, you'd have to deal with them to be able to make it. So you want to make sure that you take that into consideration whenever making a distribution deal, if they're trying to buy all ancillary rights. All right, Gabe. What is a spec script when we're talking about television?
The specs strip.
Spec script.
Spec script. Oh, yeah. So that's for it's gonna sound like a guess because it sounds more like the specs for the cameras or the video production, like the music, like how the music tempos and everything that would keep it in continuity.
No, but that is a really good guess.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
No, that is a good guess. So it actually stands for speculative script. And
okay.
It is when an individual is able to write and submit an episode for a TV show. that's already
Oh
airing.
yeah,
And they can
okay.
choose whether they want to use that episode, whether they might want to bring that person in as an intern or something in the writer's room, things like that. And certain shows are supposed to have to, I think according to the Writers Guild of America, they say that shows have to do a certain amount of spec scripts. They have to make certain episodes out of spec scripts. So that way it gives all those other writers that aren't in the show's writer's room a chance to be able to show their work and get on some shows and stuff like that.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
This makes it's more simple. It's way
No,
more
but that was a
simple
good
from
guess.
what I.
It does
Yeah,
sound like
thank
it would be
you.
something like that too.
Mm,
All right, Priscilla, you ready?
As I'll ever be.
How many acts do shows have? TV show episodes.
We were saying that more. It's like 3 to 4, right?
Yeah, so it could be either 3-act structure, it could be a 5-act structure. You done?
More often than not, from what we see, is 3 to 4 because there's like a cold intro or something like that, right?
Yep, a cold teaser.
Yeah, and that sometimes counts as a part.
Yeah, so that would still be a 3-act structure. It would just have a cold teaser that's like an opening that's just detached from the rest of the episode. It's just like an opening joke to get you set up for what kind of humor or what kind of episode this is going to be. And then it could have 3 acts, which is the main story parts. And then it could have an end tag, which would just be like another random afterthought joke, or it could be kind of attached to the story, but not really relevantly important.
Yeah.
Or it could be an actual 5-act structure, which is all 5 acts being incorporated into the actual story,
Mm-hmm.
or 3 acts. So it just really depends on show to show. But
So did I get it right or wrong?
you got it right halfway.
Jeez, you're
I'm
hard.
just Raphael, what is associative color?
Dang. Color similar to the color you're starting with.
No.
Good guess, though.
Yeah, good guess.
Okay.
You gonna guess again?
No, I'd like to know what it is.
I'm kidding.
All right. Associative color. It's a color that is associated with a certain theme, element, or a character because that color is always there when those are present. So if we're talking about theme, it could be a theme of regret, something to do with regret. And every time they're regretting something, a certain color is on the screen somewhere in the frame. Or it could be this character, the character in Curious George, he always wears yellow. So we associate him with yellow. Anytime Curious George sees yellow, he thinks of that character because that's his owner, I think. Right?
So would like
That's his owner.
the
Yeah.
Man with the yellow hat.
Yeah.
so would red count for like Star Wars, like with the red lightsabers and like the red backgrounds for the Sith people?
Yeah. If whenever we're seeing red, it feels like you are in like the dark side. Like, anytime we see a red lightsaber, we automatically know what that means. So we associate that with Sith. So yeah, that'd be part of it. With the characters themselves, obviously black, we associate that with Darth Vader if we're talking about Star Wars. And so yeah.
So it's more about the impression rather than like the character.
Yeah, it's more about just like what do we associate with that color?
Gotcha.
Whenever what has the film or the TV show set up that we associate with this color? Sixth Sense used red as there being a ghost around. So anytime there was red on screen, you felt uneasy and you didn't really know why. It's because you subconsciously saw red and you knew something was getting ready to happen. Brian, what is transitional color?
I'm going to assume it's a color that's used to transition from one part of the film to the next.
It could be
Change.
to transition from one part of the film to the next, or it could be used to show a transition of time or a transition in a character. They could start out being sad and depressed, so they're wearing very dark clothing, and obviously it looks rugged and everything. And then as time progresses, they get over their recent breakup or they get over that death in the family, and they start becoming happier. And so then they illustrate that with transitional color by showing brighter colors that they start wearing and showing that they're a little bit more upbeat later on.
Mhm.
All right, V, what is discordant color?
You said discorded or distorted?
Discordant. So it's a discordant.
Distorted color?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Colors that usually are not, like they don't go together usually, like they're not in harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be like a color that clashes with the rest of the color palette on purpose. Yeah, hopefully it's purposefully done. But if you're using it, it's to draw attention to it. And so it could be something that stands out from the rest and you're doing it on purpose because it doesn't match with anything. And so it feels weird, it feels odd, it doesn't feel like it belongs there, or it just draws our attention to it in the screen immediately so that we know what to look at. All right, Gabe. Oh, you get a hard one again.
All right, yeah, I like that.
What are some of the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said, let's go for it.
All right, so we're at, those are the color questions. Now we're on to distribution. What are some of the clauses and terms that you'll find in distribution deals?
Well, the first clause is ownership.
Yes, like what rights they own.
Yeah, so right, so like who owns it. What else different rights are there? Isn't it like the what do you call it, like you know, the ladder?
The waterfall?
No, like the waterfall.
Sort of. It would be more like
It's
what,
like,
how much they're taking out, like what their fee is.
right.
So this is like, you know, what's in the actual contract with the company.
Oh, okay. So that's what they have to. So this is the agreement that they have to at the end of the end of the production. You have to, you have to produce everything that's gonna be all the contracts, all in one. All all in one agreement. Is that what that is?
No, it's more like when you're done with your film and you're trying to sell it to a distributor, they're going to come up with you with a huge contract. And some of these major things are always going to, well, not always, but some of these major things are usually going to be found
Right.
within that contract to kind of spell out how this deal is going to go
Yeah.
and whether you want to sign it or not.
Okay, yeah. So that the whole breakdown. So all of them are. Is it all grouped already?
What was that?
So it's all packaged in there with for the distribution company.
Yeah, so you're gonna have the contract with the distributor just explaining how this deal works, like what this deal is. And so you'll see some of these clauses or these terms within the contract.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that's what you just said.
All right, yeah, but like what? So some of the
Okay, say that
terms,
again.
some of the terms and clauses you'll find. You already said one, like the rights, the ownership, being like, what is this distributor going to own? What deal are they signing? What are they buying? Are they buying the rights to
the merch?
distribute online? Are they buying theatrical rights, all rights? That's going to be in there.
Mhm. Okay.
And there's
And the
also going to
music,
be the term length. How long does this distributor own those rights?
okay.
Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How long are they trying to maintain the rights of whatever they're buying? There's going to be exclusivity rights. Are they the only
Okay.
ones who get to own the rights to whatever you're selling them? Or is that going to be able to be split up? Like home video rights. Sometimes you might want to sell DVDs online on your own website. So you don't want to sell exclusive home video rights to the distributor. Otherwise, they are the only ones that get to sell DVDs or Blu-rays, and they may never decide to.
And what about internationally? Like,
Internationally, you'll have the same, many of the same clauses and stuff like this in here. But yeah, that is another one. Territory, like what territory are they buying? So international, like which country or which continent, or is it all of Europe? Is it going to be just certain countries? What territories are they signing for? Term extensions. Are they going to have automatic term extensions? So when their term length is up, whether it's 5 or 10 years, does it automatically renew, or do you have to sign a new contract at the end of it? Performance requirements. Are there certain sales numbers that they have to reach by a certain date, or they forfeit the rights to owning the deal?
yeah, right.
Sometimes there might be minimum guarantees in there, like how much money they're giving you up front to be able to distribute this film. They're, like we already said, their fee, what percentage do they take out from all the sales before they pass it down that waterfall? Expense caps. How much can they spend on expenses for trailers and poster art and marketing? And is there a cap for that? There's also assumption agreements, which means the distributor is going to pay any contractual obligations, like if a crew or a cast member have signed on to the movie, but they want, maybe you got a major star in your film, but they want some of that gross percentage of revenue. So they have some percentage marked on there. The assumption agreement within the contract would say that the distributor just assumes on all of those obligations. That way the production company doesn't have to do it, because they're selling all the rights to the revenue to the distributor. And so they take on all the obligations to pay everybody if they have any percentage of net or gross pay. There's also bankruptcy clauses. If the distributor goes bankrupt, you want to try to see if you can write a clause in there that you get back the rights to your film, that they don't own it, and put it on their asset list, and then goes down with their bankruptcy. And then you said something like this, the deliverables that are required by you is usually in there too. Like what do you have to bring? And one of those would be that chain of title that you were talking about, with all the contracts compiled into one and giving it over to them. And whatever other deliverables they request, that's going to be in this contract as well. Does anyone have any other things that are probably found in a distribution agreement contract? I said a lot of them, yeah.
Isn't that the music goes as well? You know, he's talking about that before.
Yeah, so the music rights, that would be part of the chain of title, because you would have to, you as the filmmaker need to have the rights to the music
Already
when you're giving it to the distributor.
Yeah, okay, I remember.
All right. Sorry for the hard one.
Nah, it was cool. I was ready. Thank you.
Priscilla,
Yes.
you get an easy one now. This is television stuff. What is a TV pilot?
TV pilot is the it's hard to word it, but basically
Maybe it's not easy.
It's a test episode to show to the studio, so to basically as a pitch for your show to see if they buy the rights for it.
It can be used as that, but more than likely it's going to be that the network themselves order it for them to see if it's going to work out or not.
Yeah.
So the pilot episode, a TV pilot, is the first episode that's made for the series. Sometimes it's never shown to the public, and other times it's actually put in with the rest of the series. It depends on how good it turned out. But what it really is, it can be used two ways. One, like Priscilla said, the production company can create the TV pilot, or the producer or whoever's doing it can create the pilot and bring it to studios to use it as a pitch, a part of their pitch to show what the episodes would be like. Or it's they pitch it with like a TV show Bible and they show them the budget and explain what the show would be about. And the network likes the idea, but they don't want to buy a whole season because they're not sure if it's going to be good or not. So they want to see how one episode would look like so they can get a better representation of what the show is. And so they order a TV pilot. And sometimes those are never shown to the public. Even if the show goes to air later, sometimes they do a really cheap pilot and then they put more money in when they see that it can actually do well. And other times they just don't think, certain actors might drop out. And so they might make a new first episode, but really it's not the pilot episode. And other times that, like I said, the actual pilot episode that was made for the network gets shown to the public when the show starts getting released. Raphael, what is a backdoor pilot?
So a pilot that's not really shown publicly? I don't know.
No, it is.
What?
It is shown publicly.
Oh, okay, but you said
Or like
no,
broadcast,
it is,
yeah.
it is.
Sorry, what?
A pilot that comes after the fact, like after they've like signed up for producing the show.
No, but these are good guesses.
Okay.
You want to keep going?
No, I think I'm good.
Does anybody else want to take a guess? Priscilla, do you know what it is?
I don't want to try.
You don't want to try. All right, a backdoor pilot. Mandalorian is my most recent experience with them using this all of the time. But a backdoor pilot is featuring a character or a plot in an already successful series so that they can kind of gauge the audience's experience with it, see if they like the character, see if they like that plot point or that whole episode, so that they can turn it into a spin-off, prequel, or sequel series. So, obviously Mandalorian introduces random characters and then they're like, if the audience liked that episode with that character and it's a lot of chatter on social media, they go, hey, okay, now we can make a whole season of this. And basically it's a way for studios that already have successful shows to not spend extra money checking out new TV pilots and instead introducing them into already successful shows. And if it doesn't do well, they can just say, oh, well, that was a bad episode, and keep going with the actual show that they like without spending more money on.
Basically, I kind of was trying to remember what it was, but I didn't want to be wrong, so I didn't say it. But basically, it's kind of like that show that has a spin-off of the show, and one of the episodes of the original show is its backdoor pilot, kind of like introducing that character and seeing how people react. Like the Vampire Diaries did it with the originals. One of the episodes is a backdoor pilot for the original TV show because they wanted to see how people reacted to it, the feedback. Gilmore Girls tried to do it with Logan, where he goes to LA to find his dad, but audiences are not that into it, so it ended up being scrapped.
Oh yeah, it's a way for them to see if it's interesting to the audience or not. And if it's not, they're never going to make the actual spin-off show or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's basically.
But that's why some shows you'll just see something that doesn't really feel the same.
As
the rest of the
Stranger
show.
Things. Stranger Things had a backdoor pilot in season 3. I think it was 2 or 3. The one that had that sister storyline that made no sense. It was supposed to be a backdoor pilot to talk about the other people that weren't 11.
Oh, the ones like 11 at was like, yeah, some
Yeah,
kind of
and
gang.
and people didn't care.
Yeah.
It didn't test well, and so they ended up scrapping it.
Yeah, so instead of making a pilot on its own for that show, they just decided to insert it into an already popular show to see if anybody liked it or not. All right, it doesn't always work. I mean, sometimes people are just annoyed that it's so different from the actual show that they just don't care about the episode, but they might like it if it was its own series. But it's just a way to networks to kind of gauge it, try to save money. Brian, who is second in command in the art department? Underneath the production designer.
Art director.
Correct. All right, V, you get a little bit more of a hard one. What are the different kinds of props?
Different kinds of, like a miniature?
No, miniatures aren't props.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know that I understand.
So with the props department, they have different kinds depending on what they're used for, how they're used on set. And they're called different things.
Like whether you interact with it or not?
Yeah, well, you're going to interact with all of them if it's a prop. So I'll give out one. One is personal props, and that's a prop that's worn like a hat or carried by the actor, like a staff or a book or a blanket that they carry all around. So that would be called a personal prop. And then there's other types, other categories of them, basically.
Well, okay, just as a last guess, maybe. Okay, so when you interact, I don't know. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not.
I got you. Does anyone want to take a guess?
What's the question again?
What are the different kinds of props? One already named, personal props. It's carried or worn by
I'll
them.
wait to see. Does anyone else have a guess? I'll respond. Different types of props. There's, I don't remember all of the names, but there's ones that the characters interact with, the actors interact with. There's ones that they don't. That's just like basically set dressing.
No.
There's-
Props, actors are going to interact with.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there's ones that they wear on their clothing.
Personal props?
There's ones that they interact with, like touch and stuff. There's ones that
All
they.
props.
There's ones that they. I'm trying to.
No, go on,
you're
keep going,
shaking.
keep
Screw that.
going. Well, you're saying they interact with, they touch, like that's all
I'm trying
props.
to remember.
Like hay, for example, you fall in hay. The
Yeah,
hay
and
is a
hay would
prop.
be, actually, I don't know what hay would be considered, but it would be a prop because you have to touch
No.
that.
Is there? Oh, never mind. Let's forget.
All right, I'll go ahead. All right, so personal props are worn or carried by the actor. So you think Indiana Jones with his whip, gun, hat. Set props, like set dressing, but actors mess with them. That would be the hay. So it looks like it's part of the set, but the actor's going to mess with it. It could be also they're looking for a certain kind of pen, and they have this cup full of pens, and they're sorting through them. That's no longer set dressing, even though it looks like it is. It's props because the actor touches him. So it's over the props department to handle that. Then there's hand props, which are carried or handled by an actor. That would be if they pick up one of the pens and they're carrying it around, or they're carrying around a notebook to write in it. That's their hand prop for the scene. Trim props. That's hanging props like frames, curtains, or blinds. So unlike set dressing, which is just there to look like a window and a curtain, you would have the props department do a trim prop for the curtain to make sure it's safe for the actor to pull. If the actor pulls it to the side, it's not going to fall down on their head and hurt them. Whereas set dressing, they do take safety into consideration, but props just has to completely ensure that it's going to be safe for the actor to move around and touch. And that's why they come in to handle that. And then there's breakaway props, which are extremely brittle and easy to break away. That could be any kind of fake glass, fake windows, fake furniture, which the character might sit in and break because they didn't fix one of the legs and they said they would, and then they didn't, and they sit in it anyway to prove it, and then it breaks. And then also, set props would be something like furniture that the characters actually sit in. That would be under props as well. So yeah, it's basically just categorizing the different props. All right. Gabe, back to distribution. What is an aggregator?
I just heard that word.
Oh, you never heard it before?
No, I'm saying I just heard that word. Like I'm like going over everything.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember exactly where. All right, I'll just guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's a person. No, okay, nah, I'm not gonna try. But I just read it today. Okay, go ahead.
All right, is anyone else with a guess?
No, I give up.
You're intimidating.
Am I intimidating everybody? All right, aggregators are kind of like distributors, but they don't handle any of the marketing and they don't help sell your film, and they are a lot cheaper. They take way less of a fee. V said yes.
Thank you, V.
They're the companies that help prepare and sell your project to online digital platforms. So an aggregator, you basically just give your film to them and they make sure that it's technically going to meet all the requirements to be distributed online. And they're pretty much only used for online digital platforms. Whereas a distributor will handle a lot more like marketing and well, depending on the distributor. They might handle marketing and they'll handle obviously theatrical, home video, and stuff like that. Aggregators, they only do online platforms, but some of them have deals and partnerships with some of the major streamers and stuff like that. So it helps for you to be able to get your film onto those platforms if they decide they want it. Priscilla,
Yes.
what is the difference between film markets and film festivals?
Film markets are when you go specifically to try to sell your film and to get people to invest in it and all that kind of thing. And film festivals, more often than not, are films that have already been distributed and you're just there to like watch it, or you're there to you have a distribution deal or you're showing it at that festival so that more people can see your film, and maybe you might be able to meet someone to get like a bigger distribution. But more often than not, the festivals are more to show films, and the film markets are more to sell films.
Correct. Yep. Perfect. Film markets are to sell and buy films between buyers and sellers. That would be distributors and filmmakers, or production companies or producers, whoever owns a film at that point. Sales agents as well, obviously. And they're more like a trade show. Film festivals are more to showcase and celebrate new films. Like Priscilla said, you could already have a distributor, you could already have a distribution deal, and the distributor decides to do a film festival run because they want to try to gain notoriety and legitimacy for that film and that project. They want to try to win awards, that kind of thing. But just because a film does well at a film festival doesn't mean it's going to do well at a film market. It might be a very artsy film, which film festival audiences typically like a lot more than the general public. Whereas a film market, they're looking for marketable films where the general public is going to like the film, and it might not be as artsy, but it is more marketable. So yeah. All right, Raphael, how do you make a character arc?
A character arc?
Yeah.
Um, I'm drawing blanks here, man.
All right, no problem. Anyone else want to take a guess or know the answer?
Sorry, say it
It
again.
can be it can be from. Oh, I was gonna give it a try.
Okay.
Now,
go ahead.
okay, so it can be from where the character started to where the character ended up.
Mhm.
So just different stages of where the character.
Of like how where they
developed.
how they've changed and adapted through the show or the movie.
Right. Yeah. So like they're all broken down by the by the middle of the and then you wonder how he got from. I forgot what movie it was. A series. It was about that guy. He was selling chemical.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the example I saw for his example of his character. His he was a sample.
Mhm. And he was more of like a negative impact, a negative arc, because he was going from more of a good type of guy to
Then
now
Rebel.
a drug dealer,
Yeah.
Not just that, very morally ambiguous. Morally
murderer.
morally gray.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So how you make a character arc, you can ask who the story is about, who is our character now, what has happened to them that defines them, where does this character live, and how do their surroundings affect them, as well as their surrounding group of friends. And then once you know your character and your surrounding characters, what do they ultimately want from each other? And from there, you can have them be given change what they think or what they want, or you can have them stay the same or choose to stay on the same path by giving them those obstacles and those differences of opinion to come in, and those different characters to see if they'll change or if they will stay the same or change for the worse. I guess change for the better or the worse, or stay the
Yeah.
same. All right, we got a few more questions. Brian, what is the difference in a set designer and a set decorator?
A set decorator is responsible. Mainly it's responsibility. So a set designer is responsible for creating the ultimate design, as for a set decorator is more of kind of like the finishing touches, I want to say.
Yeah, basically. So you want to go further in that, or?
No, I mean it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's more like it's in the name designer. So like you would mostly see a lot of that in bigger budget, specifically when they have like futuristic movies where they need somebody to design the look of the furniture, like in Back to the Future, for example. There was somebody that designed the overall look versus the decorator, who was the one who what's the word, expedited everything and put it all together.
Yeah, and it kind of did like the makeup of it.
Yeah.
So the way I describe it is the designer, they design the layout of the set, they prototype and oversee the building and construction of it, and the decorators dress the set to give it unique feel to a character in a scene. It's kind of like a designer makes the room layout and the way the house is designed and the layout of that whole house. And then the decorators come in and they fill it with art, furniture, and stuff to make it look unique to that character or that place. And so like Brian's saying, like the designer designs it and the decorator comes in and does kind of the finishing touches to make it unique to the character or the place or the person. V, what is concept art for?
Is that like having to do with the story's concept, like mood boards and
Yeah, it can be.
like it can be at any phase typically, like maybe like pre-production or like the development.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lookbook and stuff. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so concept art, they can also be used for pitching the original idea. Some people will get, if it's something that's like sci-fi, especially, and stuff that's very unique to the project, they might want to try to do some concept art to show the idea of what they're going for. Pre-production uses concept artists a lot, depending on what the project is, to do a concept art of the location, of the any kind of CGI characters or creatures, what the weapons look like, what the people look like, what their clothing looks like, whatever. It's all these different elements, depending on how much of the world you're building. Concept artists will help create those ideas, and then director picks through those. And then they also use concept art for post-production to show how the visual effects will incorporate with the rest of the footage. Yeah. All right, Gabe, when you're world building, is it possible to do too much?
Yes,
Yes.
because depending on the budget, like if you go overboard and you go over the budget,
Yeah.
that's gonna actually that's your production's not going anywhere
Yeah.
if you bust your whole budget.
Yes, and not even just
So-
that, but also if you do too much to the point where you're never actually writing your story because you're too busy figuring out, how this world works that you're world building, or how this place works in this time period.
I would also say if you're world building to the point where it doesn't add anything to the story anymore, that you're just expanding, and you're not really getting to the root of the story. You're not really creating the story. You're just
thinking about what kind of nuts the trees on this planet grow, and it's like that's not really going to affect anything. Yeah, it's actually called world builders syndrome, and it happens to like video game people, film people, and anyone who's creating their own world for any kind of media or entertainment. They can sometimes, or a book series, of course, too. If they're trying to create their world, they sometimes spend too long thinking about the world and not actually thinking about what story is going to happen within it. And then they never actually get to the story.
Like Inception. That was like on steroids. World building. Was it? Yeah, Inception. When
Yeah, like
Yeah,
building
but
the
even
world
with
of how that
Yeah.
works and stuff like that.
even with Inception though, it is like complicated to understand sometimes, but every single thing that's in there is deliberate and written for a purpose so you understand the world, even if it can get a little confusing at times. So that's different than I feel like Tenet did that a little more. I feel like while we were watching Tenet, there was a lot of stuff that looked cool but didn't really fit, or maybe that was just my perception. Like everyone's perception is different, but I feel like there are stories that you can get caught up in your own world and try to explain it and end up over explaining to the point where like, yeah, this is cool.
That's
But
cool that they have a different kind of nut than we grow, but who cares
in-
really?
yeah, in this field, how do you
Exactly.
access your information?
Yeah, like
This, especially when it's like, especially when it actually detracts from the story, when it's not just an added detail, but it's also something that's distracting and taking time away from the main story and the main plot and the main thing that we came here to see. Shows do that all the time too, and they have like a very fantastical thing where they try to like show us, look at this other cool thing and this other cool thing, and yeah, that's cool. But I wish we were focusing more on the main thing that you're trying to get me to care about first. And then if you want, we can get a sequel or later expand on that. I feel like that happens a lot too.
yeah. All right, Priscilla.
Yeah.
What is free design, fixed design, and found design in world building?
Are you talking about like the designing apps or the different?
No, like so it's stages of world
yeah.
building.
Different stages are like when you are first designing like the main ideas and the basic concepts, and then you go into creating props and stuff like that.
Sort of. It's more so about like story and just like, so let's say we're creating a whole planet for our story.
Mhm.
So then there's free design, fixed design, found design. Do you want to guess or explain if you know?
Are you talking about oh, you're talking about things that already exist in this world, things that are new and we have to figure out and create?
Sort of. So it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I
sorry.
know some of the questions are hard
It's
to
hard
like
to-
understand. So there are different levels of world building and different ways to go about it. There's three main ways: free design, fixed design, found design. When you're doing free design, it's independent of a setting. All you're doing is building the place and the period. So if we're talking about Star Wars, we're going to this planet or this spaceship, and we're saying that it's a long time ago, but it really does feel like a futuristic setting for us. But that's the place and the period. So now we're just building out the spaceships, we're building out the planets, we're building out the political parties, and what's going on with that, but we're not really doing anything for our actual story. Fixed design is the setting. Now we're creating the level of conflict and the duration of time. So now we say there is these rebels and they're fighting the empire, and the empire is trying to hunt them down and capture the plans to their major weapon and destroy all of the rebels. So now we have level of conflict. They're trying to escape and they're trying to exterminate them. And so that's our setting. That's our story within the world that they've built, which is all those spaceships and those planets and the two main political parties and how it works.
I just want to say before we continue that I know it doesn't seem like it for those of you that know me though. I am getting a lot better at the whole term thing. Like I suck at terms, and for the most part, I've been getting them right. For the most part. Continue.
All right. And then and then the last one is found design. And found design would be if you figured out, so we're talking about Star Wars. So we figured out, the ships, the planets, the way the major government works within that whole entire galaxy, or at least the majority of it. And we figured out our setting, where it's going to take place, within the planets, within the spaceships, who it's going to be about, and how long they have to be able to overcome these obstacles, which isn't very long because they're constantly being hunted down. And then found design is we are writing out that story. And as we're building it out, we come across some questions and we figure out the world building that needs to go into it. So how do these droids work? And then like you start figuring it out as you go instead of trying to pre-plan everything, because some things you'll only find as you go about your story. What would this desert planet be like? What would these people on this planet do? Why are they living there? What jobs would they have? Moisture farming. Okay, there you go. They're trying to gather moisture because it's a very dry, deserty type planet. That could be something that was found during the script writing and not really pre-planned, or it could have been, who knows. But anyway, those are the three different stages of world building. Free design is where people get stuck and do the world builder syndrome. They never get to the actual setting. They never get to the story or the characters. They just stay with figuring out all the planets and figuring out all of the way the plants work and the animals and stuff that's not really going to be in a story. And if it is in the story, they could have figured it out later with found design.
Gotcha.
Okay, Raphael. What is the difference between scale and proportion in production design? Raphael? He left. Just kidding. No, he's still here. I don't know.
You might be in the bathroom.
Scale is the measurement of
What the
object,
heck is what? Shouldn't my whatchamacallit?
or and then what was the other one you said?
Scale. What did you say for scale? Sorry, Priscilla interrupted.
Oh, it's the measure. It's like a measurement of an object, the actual size of an object.
Yep.
Um,
And then proportion.
Portion is like similar to that. Like if you want to scale it down to a smaller proportion, to kind of, so let's say a car, and you want to scale it down to be the same size as it would be in normal size. So like if you're trying to get a car to fit in your let's say you have a model city, so you would have to get the proportions of the cars that you want. They would match, realistically with whatever it is that you're trying to fill in. I don't I don't know how to word it.
I got you. I know what you mean. Like, so that way the car doesn't look too small or too large compared to the buildings that you're doing.
Exactly. There you go.
So yeah, scale is the relative size of objects from one to the other. So like you said, how big or small it is. And there's different scales, especially if you're doing any kind of miniature work, you're going to work with different scales. And proportion can either be in proportion to each other, the size, like Brian said. So it could be the car compared to the building, and you want to make sure they're the same scale and the proportions are correct so they look right. Proportion is like the different sizes or individual parts that make up the object. So you don't want the tires to be too big compared to the actual car, because then the proportion of the tires is really large. And same thing when you're drawing people or you're drawing anything, you want to make sure the proportions of everything look correct. So nothing like the person's head isn't way too big for an actual person and it looks more like a cartoon, unless you're making a cartoon. But yeah. All right, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and, Raphael, are you back? All right, Brian, is it better to use smaller scale miniatures to film or larger, and why?
In the video it said larger because of the detail that you can get out of it.
Correct. So larger is generally seen to be better because you can do more detail and the light works with it in a more realistic way. I would say it's also, the camera movements and the angles are a lot easier too because they're more realistic to an actual size. Hey, Chisom. Whereas smaller, it's a lot harder to get the camera movement correct, the camera angles, and the depth of field.
I did have that with my the exercise. I did bring that up. Like lighting was difficult because a normal light on a smaller. I mean, I was just using action figures, but the because I was using normal light, it kind of reflected off the plastic a lot more than
And it's a lot harder to get right.
Yeah,
because
there's
it's
also
thin.
lighting skin tone versus lighting. And then if you're using models and stuff, like it's going to be plastic, they're going to replace glass with like a lot of glass with plastic, and the light reflects off of it differently. So
Yeah, like how with the miniature from last week, the head was very glossy, so it reflected on the camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the light. All right, V. When shooting miniatures, you need to scale down your camera movements and angles as well. True or false? And why? Oh, V said true. Yeah, true. Why? I don't know. All right, so you need to scale down your camera movements and the angles as well, because if, let's say you are doing a 1/6 size scale of your miniature and you're trying to make it look like a shot that would be shot in real life from 6 feet high in the air, then you need to scale it down to 1/6, which would be 1 foot off the air, to make it look like it's 6 feet away from that miniature, to kind of give it the same look as you would have in real life from that different scale. So it's kind of some division and math involved, but you have to scale back everything. The speed of your movement needs to be scaled back, because if it's too fast, it's going to look like it's going to be obvious it's a miniature, or it's just not going to be anything in focus. So it's going to be hard to tell what's going on. So you have to really focus it back to make it look like a helicopter shot or a drone shot or a crane shot or whatever kind of shot you're trying to do.
Well,
Sorry about that.
there's
Mhm.
that. It's a simple pan from left to right, because the models are so small. Like it looks like it's sped up. So versus like for real life, it would take some time to get the camera from one end to the other. Or in just when you're doing tracking shots on a track, trying to simulate a dolly movement or something like that. Like
Mhm.
you actually have less space than what you think, because the size is actually a lot smaller. So
Yeah, so if you do the camera movement too quickly, it looks like there's a helicopter that passed by at a jet speed.
exactly.
All right. Oh, it's okay, Effie. She said, sorry, all for my mic. All right, Gabe, what is a way television writers save on the budget of the show? The television writers, so they write in a certain way or certain episodes so that they can save on the budget.
They it can be depending on the episode. So instead of like the episodes always changing, it can be like a basic set, or one camera,
One location, yeah.
one location. Yeah, so like the simpler the on your depending on your budget.
Yeah. So the simpler it is, the less actors, like maybe they say, oh, 3 of the actors are sick in this episode. That way only have to bring in 3 of them. Less background actors, one location, like you said, all of those different things they can do to really save the budget on their show. It's called writing a bottle episode. And that way it doesn't have too many things going on. There's no big events happening. There's no giant elements, or visual effects are reduced if it's a heavily visual effects show. And they do that so that they can save that money for a more expensive episode that needs a lot of those things. So,
I
yeah.
remember we were talking about like a party, like that, like an episode, and it's just like a party, and it's just like random. And just I was just
I
saying that.
remember one good thing that I was telling Coda was, there was the one where no one's ready. That was from Friends. There was one in I don't know if this is,
Seinfeld, there was one where they're just waiting at a restaurant trying to get in the whole time. So it's just one location right outside of the like where the host was.
there was one. I don't know if this would be called a bottleneck episode, because I'm sure they had to make
It's just bottle episode.
a bottle episode, because I know that they had to make like a new set for the house, so maybe not. But there is an episode that I thought was really creative of How I Met Your Mother, where it takes place in the house and it takes place in 3 rooms, and they have the 3 rooms, and the whole episode is basically going from one room to the other, showing what happened in each room first, and then bringing it all together.
Wasn't that How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh.
There's episodes that take place just in the bar as well. There's sitcoms do this a lot more, because more often than not they build their own sets. And going on location is a little more expensive. Or we were talking about when we were rewatching, Friends has like at least 1 episode per season after a certain point where it's mostly flashbacks. I think it was like around season 5 or 6, where they would have an episode where the character would be going through something emotionally or trying to figure something out, and they'd be thinking about a certain relationship or a certain happenings in their lives or a certain life decision, and they would use that episode to flash back to a bunch of things that already happened. So basically the episode would be 70% flashbacks and 30% them talking in that one location.
Oh yeah, that's even cheaper than a bottle episode because it's just you've already shot that footage and you just insert it in to fill out the time, and then you're just filming the in-betweens of them like thinking
Talking
about
about
it or
it, yeah.
talking about it. Yeah, so it's way less actual new footage
So
coming
that's I would imagine that's one of the reasons why they did it so much, was to save on costs, because, you know, it was there were a lot of episodes and they were paying they were paying everyone more after a few seasons because it was making a lot of money. So they were probably looking for little places to cut costs.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is a lot easier, like not easier, I'd say. I always thought, oh, that must be really hard. But the more shows that we've watched, me and Coda together and stuff like that, and the more movies too, I'm always amazed and impressed at how they can create an entire story in one location, or in one set. We recently watched a mafia movie on Amazon Prime, I think it was, where it all took place in this one
Taylor's workshop.
this one sewing shop. It was a tailor, and it all took place in there. Like they would leave and come back, but everything was
Actually, he was a cutter.
whatever. He would leave and come back, and I was so impressed because I was like, holy crap, they made this entire movie, they made it make sense, they made it suspenseful for the most part until the last 20 minutes, but they made it suspenseful and interesting and kept you on the edge of your seat, and they just had one location.
You remember the name? I don't remember the name.
I think it was the Cutter or something like that, wasn't it? Let me look it up.
All right, well, she looks that up.
But I was really impressed. All I'm saying is it is always cool to see how creators get creative with it, and like, okay, what storyline can I do without them having to leave this one set while just using this one set? And it's a great exercise for our creativity, I feel like, as well.
I agree. Hey, Chisan, would you like to guess for one of the questions? Is anybody in here? All right. Raphael, I'm going to skip to you.
I don't think
If you're back. Oh, yeah, I don't think Raphael's back either.
he must have gone to see his girlfriend.
Brian, I'm going to skip all the way to you again. What are
Hey.
average? What was that? Oh, V, you want one?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. What are the average episode numbers in a season typically? So a television season, depending on the show, how many episodes is the average?
Hmm. 10 to 12? Oh no. Oh.
That's correct, depending on like what kind you're talking about.
Yeah, because like I know you talked about there could even be less or sometimes even more depending on the show.
Definitely. So for streaming and premium TV, it's usually 6 to 12 hour-long episodes, depending on how much they want to put into the season. If it's a successful show, they will decide, how many episodes they want. I think Stranger Things had 8? The newest season? And I think it started with, did it start with 8 or did it start with 6?
Would you like me to check?
Yes.
Okay, give me a second.
But yeah, so that for hour-long content, it's 6 to 12. For half-hour shows, do you want to take a guess? For broadcast.
Okay. I would say that probably the higher number, like maybe like 12, like 10 to 12. Did I say 10 to 12? Yeah, maybe 12.
It's a lot. It's quite a bit higher than that usually, for like sitcoms and things like that. You take another guess?
16.
For cable, that is actually it's 13 to 16. For broadcast and like network TV, it's usually about 22 to 26.
Because
Wow.
because they
Yeah, it's
need
quite
to
a
have,
lot.
because they need to have more room for commercials since it's, not.
They like to have it running, you know, a lot of the year, and so then they like think they can start on the next season while they're working on publishing out those episodes or whatever. I don't know how you.
So
With
season
the
1 of
tech-
Stranger Things had 8 episodes, season 2 had 9, season 3 had 8, and season 4 had 8.
Oh, okay. So they stayed pretty consistent.
Yep.
First seasons of shows also tend to usually have less than a normal season would. So on broadcast TV, they could have 12 to 16 episodes for the first season, even though all the rest of the seasons are going to do 22 to 26. And that's just because they aren't sure if it's going to be successful yet, so they don't want to put as much money into it. But they do a lot of episodes so that they can get more money from advertising, because if it's a successful show like Friends, they try to get like as many episodes as they can in a season so they can sell as much ad space as possible for that show.
Especially when it's prime time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take advantage of that as much as possible. Game of Thrones started with 10 episodes, and then a lot of them had 10, and then some had 9, and then the last abysmal dumpster fire season had 8. I'm pretty sure.
Of what's good?
8 or 9. Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah. Well, season 8 had like 6 episodes. Or 4? No,
No, it had
6.
7 or 8, I'm pretty sure.
The last season?
Yeah.
No, it had like 6 episodes.
No, not 6. It had 7 or 8. I remember because
No.
what?
The last season had like
I'm looking it up.
very few episodes.
You're
All right.
wrong.
You're talking about Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
All right, you look that up. Chief Sum, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back.
Hey, what's up? So I was wondering if you wanted to try to guess for one of these questions. It's the last question we have, actually.
That's fine.
Ha!
What?
Wait.
What was that?
Oh,
It's Priscilla thinking she was right.
oh, wait. It had 6.
Oh, it did. Oh my. Okay, so the last season of Game of
I remember
Thrones had
seeing
6
7.
episodes.
I remember seeing 7.
No. Anyway, sorry, Chisholm. Here we go.
Yeah.
What are ancillary rights for a film?
Can you pronounce that again?
What are ancillary rights for a film?
Ancillary rights. Can you give me a hint?
Yeah, so they're kind of like secondary rights. They're not the film itself. They're stuff that comes out of the film's IP.
Is it like rights due to merchandising and
Yep.
sequels and shit?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, if it's not merchandising sequels, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. So it's merchandise, it's sequels and prequels.
Okay.
If they want to make a TV show out of it, if it's a film, or vice versa, if they want to make a film out of a TV show. If they want to do a play based on it, like they're doing with Harry Potter. Any books that they write. Sorry, go ahead.
Isn't that similar to copyright if I have that? Or?
So.
Well, if you own the film, if you're the one who did it, made it, and you're trying to make these other things, these would be the ancillary rights to that project. So they're yours unless you sell them away.
So have you guys been here? I don't know if you heard this or not. I follow the Broadway scene, and then I've been hearing about this whole Bridgerton musical situation. So it's gone out of the musical stream and gone into copyright issues. And right now there's this group that created a bunch of music from the show Bridgerton. Basically, they created their own music and they had their own rights to it. Now, the interesting thing about that with a copyright was technically it wasn't a copyright violation for them to create their own music of it. It wasn't a copyright violation for them to show it, but it is a copyright violation for them to sell tickets to their version of the musical. And that's why Netflix is suing them right now, because Netflix asked them if they wanted to do a deal, if they wanted to basically like buy the rights or rent the rights out so that they could make money off of this. but apparently they said no, according to their lawyers or whatever. And I just thought that was so interesting because they weren't infringing on copyright by making music, a whole freaking musical of it, and showing it online to people and selling some of the songs to other things or whatever. Or maybe they were, but it was only discovered now. But the fact that they're selling tickets to this musical now infringes under copyright. So it was only considered copyright when they started making money from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can get taken down for making a fan project if they want to, but usually they don't care unless you're trying to sell money for it.
No, yeah, and they were talking about how Disney a few years ago had a similar situation with a musical. I forgot which one it was, of one of their properties, but all of the money went to charity. So they didn't say anything about it because that would have been really it went to the actors charity, like to help support actors and stuff like that. And they were like, well, we're not going to be the D-bags that take money away from charity during a pandemic because we want our copyright, and all the money went to charity anyway, so we'll be fine with it. But because the money is going into the pockets of the creators right now, it's an issue. And everyone's following the lawsuit because that could mean a lot for creators as far as copyright rights and all this kind of thing, depending on who wins. I just thought that was interesting.
Cool. So anyway, ancillary rights. So if you made an original IP and you made, let's say you make a superhero that's Steam Man. I'm sure that's already out there, but let's say it's yours. And you made a movie out of it and you own the ancillary rights, then you are allowed to either sell the rights to make merchandise to some company or to make merchandise yourself. Any sequels and prequels belong to you. If you're going to make a TV show out of that film, that's yours. Any plays that come out of it, you own a copyright to that, like Priscilla was talking about. That's why they got sued, is because Netflix owns the ancillary rights to that project. So they can't really make a play and sell tickets unless they do a deal. Any books, the soundtrack, if the soundtrack's original to the film, like the composition. Web series, comics, games, video games, board games, all of that stuff is ancillary rights. And it can either be sold in a distribution deal, or you can hold on to that stuff and just sell the rights to distribute the film itself. And then you own the rights to all the rest of it if it becomes big and everybody likes Steam Man.
And on a positive note, like, it might seem kind of frustrating for the fan film creator or person that just wants to like try to create a passion project from it. But when we look at it from the perspective of the independent creator, it is also helpful and good because we wouldn't want a major company to take our thing, like, oh, I'm going to make something similar to something off of this, but a little different with this property and get away with it. So that's why those laws are in place for both parties.
Yeah. And so it's a good thing. And plus it helps if you do own something that becomes popular, it can be very lucrative eventually because you have a lot of different rights you can sell to different people to make different money from different revenue streams rather than just from the film itself. And that's why some filmmakers and creators will try to just make something that's a whole world instead of just make a contained story. And then others will just go with the contained story because they like doing that better. So it just depends on what kind of creator you are. But yeah, I don't really have any other questions other than that. That was the majority of the things I thought of for our semester, other than the fill in the blanks that we did Monday. So I was just going to explain. So next semester is going to start on September 6th. We aren't starting on Monday the 5th. We're starting Tuesday the 6th because Labor Day is going to be that Monday. So September 6th, Tuesday, we're starting the next semester. And next semester, we're going to be going over marketing, pitching, and script analysis.
It will also be our final semester, right?
Yep, that'll also be our final semester. It's going to end, let me check, I actually have it. Last semester is going to end December 15th of this year. and that'll be we're going to wrap up again with marketing, pitching, script analysis. Marketing, we're going to be talking about it. A lot of the resources are for film making, but some of them are also just for general business. Because when you're making an independent film, it's kind of like doing a startup entrepreneurial business anyway. So marketing it's kind of going to go hand in hand with how you would treat a business marketing. Pitching is going to be for pitching ideas, pitching script ideas, finished scripts, ideas, and finished films to distributors, sales agents, just networks to try to get a TV show and that kind of stuff. So what you need and how to go about it. And then marketing, some of the tools of the trade and some of the strategies that people use to try to market films and things like that. And then script analysis, that can be used both for actors and from a director or a production designer standpoint, where we're going to analyze the script and really dig deep into what's happening in the scene, what's the characters want, what's the difference between these two characters and how do they clash, what does one want from the other, and do they want the same thing, do they want different things, and how is that going to affect the scene. Actors do it so they can learn their character and how they're going to act in the scene, what's happening in the character's head. And directors do it so that they can explain what is happening in the character's head to the actors when the actors don't know, or just if they have a different idea of what's going on in their head. And then also production designers do it because they need to have all those background elements that kind of match the setting, the theme, and the scene itself subconsciously and just in the background for whatever's happening with the character. So those are the three main people that do script analysis on the script, but directors definitely need to do it as well as actors, and then production designers do it as well.
It's just good to understand the script overall, and it's good to know how to go through it, which is interesting. Just don't know. I mean, like, she's asking, are we ever going to see each other? No, it's not that we're never going to see each other. Like, after, we're going to have a conversation about it in the last semester about like how we are going to proceed with our future projects and other people's projects if they need our help and all that kind of thing. And by then we'll have a better idea of how to go about the conversation and like our future and stuff. But we just mean as far as like this little study group and stuff, we intended it to be a 2-year thing, and it's never. Like,
yeah.
And,
So we went through the main parts. Of course, there's still a lot to dig into if you're going to delve into any one subject that we were learning about. But we learned an overview of most of the stuff. We'll learn an overview, and that's what the independent filmmakers need. You got to have an overview of almost everything if you want to be successful, because you got to kind of be a little bit of everything. You got to have a bunch of different skill sets to make it work as independent filmmakers.
We were talking about the final syllabus and like going through stuff and the list of all of the things that people that are starting out and also in the independent scene should know, need to know, want to know. It's helpful to know, and it's so much. And the whole intention behind this was always for us to learn and for us to help whoever wanted to learn too and grow with us and meet people and gain, and gain some knowledge so that we could all help each other out and be a collaborative effort. We could create our projects and bring you guys along. You guys could create yours and bring us along. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna cry because it's not the end yet. But
this is just the end of this semester.
yeah,
Not
it's just the end of this semester. We still have like 3-4 months left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Until September.
we still have
middle of
plenty of
December.
time left, and we're still gonna.
Because I got nervous. I was like, oh, after December, is the group chat gonna be disbanded and then we never see each other?
Oh no, I was even gonna
I'm
ask.
gonna ghost you all.
No, I was even gonna ask her because I feel like the learning never stops when it comes to the indie scene, and stuff in cinema changes all the time. Stuff in the industry changes all the time. So I was gonna ask whoever wanted to stay in the group after the end could stay, and we could still talk about film and share stuff and share our projects and work on each other's stuff.
We just won't be doing the meetings and the syllabuses as much.
Yeah.
Well, as much. We won't
As
be doing that
much.
at all.
Yeah. And we do have a few projects in the future. We just don't want to like talk about them just yet because we still have stuff to figure out and we still have, you know, unfortunately, like we were talking about, our plans kind of changed with inflation and with COVID and all this kind of stuff. So we weren't able to do exactly what we had planned, but I'm still really happy and excited that we've learned and are still learning so much and growing, and we created such a great community in the WhatsApp group and in the meetings and in the emails and the people that we got to meet and collaborate with. I'm stoked. You guys are awesome. And it's not over yet. I know I'm talking like it is, but it's not.
I know, cause it got me sad. Cause I was like, no, I'll be so sad. Cause I don't really
Because
know.
we didn't
any
get
of
to meet you last time we went to New York, too.
No, yeah, you did it. I was, cause I know it was going to Jersey. That was my fault. But I was like, I didn't know you guys were in New York at that time. So I was like, oh, I hope after the last semester, it's like.
Yeah, there'll definitely be more opportunities. Like if you ever have a project and want us to help you out with anything, if we have something, we'll let you know. So we're still gonna maintain contact. I'm still gonna have the WhatsApp group. It probably is gonna be a little more fun and a little less school in the future too. Because it'll be less study group and
Less organized.
less organized. Yeah, a little more.
More like the first semester again.
Yeah, the first semester was a mess. A fun mess, but a mess.
I like the first semester. Yeah, but it was.
But yeah,
No, I like the first semester too. I'm just saying it was less structured.
it's a little more chaotic. That's what I like.
So let me ask you a question. Now that you guys are coming towards a close, how do y'all feel, both of y'all, as far as like, because you know you guys mentioned the intent behind it was to learn and all that stuff. So do you guys feel? I mean, I'm pretty sure you're gonna say you learned some stuff, but do you feel that? Because you know that there's a difference between learning this stuff and actually doing this stuff. Do you guys feel that you have established yourselves to a point where you think, or you feel more confident going into?
I feel like I wasted a year and a half, honestly. Okay. I'm kidding.
Oh no, I feel the same with my sentiment.
I definitely feel a lot more comfortable with everything. Like just the amount of knowledge I've gained over the last year and a half so far, just knowing all this stuff. I don't know. I feel like I'm way more prepared to actually like go in and do it and feel like I know what I will know what people are talking about, know what I'm doing, and know what I'm trying to go for and what realistically can happen, or you know what realistically can happen on a certain budget with my own projects, and how to research that type of stuff and all of those different things that go into it.
And the learning's not over. Like we said, we still have so much to learn, like you said.
Because I already knew, like you, Brian, I knew quite a bit. I don't think I knew nearly as much as you did, but I knew quite a bit already. But just like learning and delving deeper into it, I feel like I'm way more established to be able to start working, having more quality projects or helping other people create more quality projects now than I would have before studying this stuff.
Because the exciting thing for us is also that, like, going forward, we will be able to know more and be more prepared, both to work on our own stuff and to help out whoever needs and wants any assistance in any way. So, like, just being able to help out in the community and know more, I feel like, because you can only learn so much on your own, or you can only learn so much with books and stuff, but putting everything together, you can only learn so much in film school, for goodness sake. So putting a little bit of everything together, implementing a little bit of everything. Obviously it wasn't perfect. There was still a lot of stuff missing. There's some stuff that maybe we added later on that we did fun, that we learned about and that kind of thing. But I still feel like it was so rewarding and fun and cool for me, especially as someone who just was like really passionate about it and interested, but never really delved deeper into like the logistics of it. So to learn about it and to learn my strengths and weaknesses as someone who was just going to do this for her husband as like a hobby and something fun to like help him out with, I really love it. I really learned a lot.
Yeah, I think another thing that helped was just learning like how everyone, like how all these other filmmakers that we've been learning from through the syllabus, the different sources of information, how they go about making projects and how long it takes them to do certain things, like separate projects. And I always felt like I wasn't doing enough and all of this other stuff. And like I was wasting time when I was watching a show instead of trying to write out something or go make something. But I don't know. I feel like doing quality over quantity is definitely important. And there's no reason to do just random content if it's not going to be thought out and planned out beforehand. And that can take time. Trying to find financing, obviously, that can take a long time. And it can take years to get one project to go. But when you have that one project going, I don't know, I think it's a lot more worth it when it comes out in quality.
Another thing that I think was really cool about this experience is just having different perspectives. Like I learned so much and changed my perspective about so many things because I saw from different perspectives, different points of view, different ways of going about certain things. I learned what works best for me or what I prefer to do. Not necessarily wrong or right way of doing things, but different, and some that are just a little wrong.
So Lakota, you also said something about getting ready to go to film school. Do you think you go now that you've done all this?
Honestly, I don't think I would. I think I would. I think I would try to get into the industry another route, because film school, like from what I've learned from most people, is it'll teach you a lot of stuff and they'll dive deeper into some of the stuff we've gone over, but they don't teach on stuff like distribution and marketing as much unless you're going specifically for that stuff. So like I feel like there's certain things that even school lacks, and I feel like you said, there's certain things you'll learn, but you're not really going to learn until you're on set doing it. So I feel like I would learn more by doing that. And if it ever comes to a point where I would need a degree to get to a certain job that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get, then maybe.
And I feel like you'd still feel confident going to school and you'd still feel more knowledgeable with what we learned, right? With like the years of studying and research and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like at some points it would be like I know more than the school's teaching right now, and at some points it would be new knowledge. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking because I went to film school, so I'm not knocking it.
And you can, you paid for it. You can. Like, can't think about that.
I mean, the one benefit I would say I got out of it was just the networking, because I still work with the people I went to college with, you know.
Nice.
Like leech off of each other's. Like I keep bringing up like people I know that work for NBC and all that stuff, and you know they're always trying to extend and all that stuff and bring me into it, and vice versa. But as far as like the curriculum goes, as like an actual program, like you guys pretty much covered film school like a long time ago, like all the stuff that you're gonna learn. But as far as like, you know, distribution goes, just to chime in on that, that's just a completely different program altogether. It's not like film school is saying, oh, we're not going to cover it because it's not important. It's just not in the curriculum. So distribution, marketing, or something else. So
and
once
every school has their focus, right? From what I've seen, like we have a few courses and stuff. It seems like every film school has their own focus on a specific thing.
Every school has their own focus, but once you go, most of them, a majority of them, specifically film school, are kind of like the same, because, you know, we're in this study, you know, you keep going back and forth from TV to film, and then there's another aspect. There's music, the one, you know, we haven't gone into that, but they give you an option. Well, they don't really give you an option, but after you get all the basic one-on-one classes done, like that's your time to make a decision where I want to go. Do I want to do cinema and film and narratives, or do I want to do news, or, you know, documentaries, or do I want to
barely scratch the surface of documentaries.
Oh yeah, the whole thing was going to be narrative from the start.
Yeah,
that's the thing I'm interested in, so that's why I did that.
Yeah, so that's
plus I've already seen other courses and stuff that have like the realtor videos and real estate videos and, you know, the commercial type stuff.
Yeah, so that's a whole other field that we didn't even touch. That's so big, so expansive, and there's
So
just so much. I
Right.
definitely agree with you, Brian, on the networking side of things. I feel like when you're in a school environment, when you have that incentive, it's so much easier to network as opposed to just a Facebook group or something like that.
Well, yeah, because school automatically puts you in your place. It says, hey, you're a student, even though that's not all the case. Because like when I was in school, we had like 4 guys that already worked for NBC. They were just getting the degrees. You know what I'm saying? So they already knew like just as much, or if not more, than the actual professors. With the exception for like I had a couple that worked for the Discovery Channel, a couple that worked for BET, and you know they kind of just became butt buddies. Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it's the thing about school is like you don't have to go to school, but like I said, I'm not knocking it because there has been times where that piece of paper does like make my resume look that much better just because like, if I
Right.
No, definitely.
go
This experience, it definitely taught me that like I don't think that film school is unnecessary or that it's for everyone either. I think there are many benefits to it and there are things that might not be necessary. Like, I don't think you can say that anything is 100% when it comes to this, an art degree. Like you still learn a lot in an art degree, even if it might not be 100% necessary or as used as much. There's always something you can gain from it.
Well, yeah. So narrative is a little bit different. I got offended one time because like you know I had one lady, she asked me for a resume and I was like, we don't do resumes. Like, you have my demo reel. What else do you need? But if you're trying to do like news or something along that line, or work for any like, that is kind of one of the things. Like when I finally graduated, or when I was trying to get like internships at these news stations, like the big thing was like I wanted cameraman. It was like bachelor's degree with like 11 years experience or something like that, and I was like, what? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, because sometimes they look for that. Sometimes that's
They're looking for some crazy. It's like when they're looking for tech people who are like, you know, you want 10 years experience in this software and the software's only been out for 8 years.
Yeah. If you're trying to go that route, yeah, definitely get that degree. But like if you're trying to do like news and narratives, but then you know, then again, like there's that aspect, the business aspect that they want to see. So some places kind of want you to have some kind of degree that says, hey, I know how to do the business, because that's supposedly supposed to be included in it. But then, you know, like I work with a lot of people, and then, you know, some people I can kind of tell like, they have all the lingo, but then there's some giveaways where I'm like, oh, this guy is kind of like either inexperienced or, you know.
Yeah, because a degree doesn't necessarily mean experience either. You can have a degree, like you can have a doctorate for goodness sake and 0 experience, and that can be something that'll be hard for you and hold you back too. So that's another thing
And that's kind of why I brought up the question, like, do you guys feel you know, more confident going into it now, because you know you guys did all the learning part, but you know, where, you know, do you guys feel like, oh, I'm ready to take on the role of, you know, whatever it is, you know, you're gonna start looking for work or taking gigs and stuff, like, do you feel more confident in that aspect of it as opposed to like, for me, you know, I've done multiple gigs, so like I can go into and take all these and do all that stuff. But you know, there's still some things that I, like you guys know, there's still things that I'm not, you know, experienced in too. Like this, I'm producing my first film, even though I produce my own personal film, but it's different when it's not my money. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
completely
Yeah, right.
Speaking for myself and my own personality, I feel like I'll never feel completely confident until I've been working in something for like 10 years. That's just how I feel. I feel like I will always feel like there's more for me to learn. There's more that I need to do. There's more that I need to figure out. Just because I'm like very much of the mindset that the minute that I start thinking that I know everything, something's gonna appear that I don't know, and I'm gonna fall flat on my face. It's just my the way that my
I'm opposite. Not that I think that I know everything, but I definitely feel more comfortable and more capable of handling the stuff now. And like, if I did get a PA job, you know, and they asked for a pancake, I know what they're talking about.
No, there's difference between feeling confident and feeling capable. For me, I feel capable with all the research I've done and all the like work that I'm still doing. I feel like I'm able to do it, and I'm going to put my all into it. But there will always be a part of me that feels like I'm not done learning.
Well, yeah, and I don't think you ever are, no matter what field you're doing in, but especially with something like film where every set's going to be different. Every production is going to be set up a little different. They're going to want different things. If you go to a different country, they're going to name stuff different things. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where it's like, oh, I know everything.
Yeah.
But I do feel a lot more confident that I'll be able to know, you know, I won't be so fish out of water. I'll be more understanding of what is going on and what I need to do and what I can do in my position,
And
whatever
what
that
they want
position
out
may
of
be,
you, yeah.
and what they want out of me. Too.
Oh, and as far as the degree goes, we do have. Or do you want to? No. Okay, that's for later.
But yeah, does anybody else want to say anything before we wrap up this semester?
This has been a great experience for me from the jump. At first, I was a little. Can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, all right. No, it's been a tremendous experience for me, you know, because this is a career change that I'm making. And it was really hard, you know, trying to get through, like, you know, being a PA and all of these qualifications. Like, I was trying so hard just to get into being a PA. So I sort of gave up, and then I found you guys. This is like, wow. So then now I'm learning the whole. So I could do without that PA job. I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking way bigger.
I mean, like we said in the beginning of the first few semesters, you should always have like dreams and aspirations, but never be. And this is, I've been knocking on people's doors saying this for a while. Never feel like a job is beneath you, or that, oh, I can't do, I shouldn't do this because I want to do that, unless you are, for example, like we had a discussion about this a few semesters ago, where there's a difference between you working in a field of the industry that you don't intend to work on and you doing like a bunch of jobs in that field, like Brian was saying with the sound gigs, and how he doesn't want to work in sound as a priority, so he needs to start working more on the stuff that he really does want to work on, because otherwise they will typecast you in that role, in that job of, oh, this is this is the sound guy, this is this guy. So you have to be careful with that in this industry very much, because it could be, oh, this is the commercials guy, this is the, you know, and it's hard for you to get out of that box and expand. But also, like, if you find an area that you think is so cool, like whether it be music or film or whatever, and you start as a PA, but like you said, dreaming and having aspirations and being like, okay, I'm gonna work and I'm gonna show them what I'm capable of and I'm gonna learn and I am going to be the best that I can be, and they are going to see that I know my knowledge, and they are going to see my growth and my potential. And so when I apply for a bigger job, you know, I'm going to get it. Does that make sense?
It's different if you're able to create your own content, though.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're able to do your own projects, then you can definitely take the route you like.
Yeah, that is true too. I'm sorry if it sounded like I was saying don't do that. If you, the main thing with this that we did was that people could gain confidence and knowledge so that they could feel confident in doing their own thing as well and creating their own thing. And so we just, if we help
so I'm glad you
it's like you
saw
learn
that it's able to be done.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
is
awesome.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, all I can do is be a PA, like you said. I can't work on my own stuff yet. I'm not ready, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about was, no, if you go out there and you learn and you put in the work, you can create it. You don't have to wait for like this big company. You can like find your own way as long as you're dedicated, and you really are. You're really cool, and you seem to
Thank you.
learn really quickly. And I was
trying.
honestly really impressed at how fast you learn, because I suck at some of these terms. And
Yeah, I'm motivated. That's
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
the thing about me, like I can not be interested really bad. But
Yeah.
if I'm really, really interested in this is like information, I know it's in college. It's like, whoa. When I saw everything, the syllabus, I was like, I shared it with somebody. They're like, wow, you gotta get those books. I'm like, well, we'll see.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. I'm glad
yeah,
you appreciated
that was
it.
great.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
the books are really, really good too. We have many of them.
I will get them, and I definitely will get them. A few of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it
Hopefully,
really
all of
makes us
them.
happy. It really makes us happy to hear that like you learning with us and studying with us made you feel confident to be able to work on your
Yeah,
own passions and make your own way. That's really awesome, and we're really happy to hear.
definitely. Thank you, guys.
All right. Does anybody else want to say anything before we say it's a wrap on semester 5? This is the 5th semester we've done.
Holy cow. Doesn't it feel like we've been around for like 3, 4, 5 years?
You said it starts September 5th. Do we have to do the thing we did last time where we send an email to say if we're still interested? Or
No, that's good. We're down to
Uh,
like 15 people, I think. So I'm just gonna leave everybody that's in. These are
Alright.
either they're actually actively a part of it, like Gabe, or you guys have been here since the beginning. So
You watch
and
the
you know, just
videos
busy like
follow-
Raphael and you guys come in when you can.
and follow along on your own time. Yeah.
But it's
Oh.
September 6th. So Tuesday, September 6th, because Monday, the 5th is Labor Day. So we're gonna not do it on that day.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, appreciate you all. Hope you guys have a good few weeks off. It's gonna be what, like 3 weeks? Like
Around
3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So enjoy the 3.5 weeks, and hopefully we see you all back for the next semester where we're talking. Or again, this is kind of like on the business side of, well, this is very business side of the filmmaking process. Script analysis will be kind of story based, but
And we
everything
also
else
have
is
some really fun
business
discussions
side.
about like different aspects of it, lessons we've learned, stuff like that. Ryan
And
always
next
has some fun
semester,
stories.
the movies we watch are actually just going to be based on independent films that they marketed it themselves or that they were able to get a distributor, and basically just movies that aren't too. When most of us have probably never heard of them because they're small, but they were successful enough to either break even or actually gain a profit.
Yeah,
So
we thought it'd be fun since we watched all these mainstream movies. Be fun to watch a few indie films and support smaller creators and see how they did it.
it was also just because marketing, pitching, and stuff. So it goes in hand with the
Yeah.
business side of the film and how they were able to do it. These independent filmmakers. So hope you all enjoy your weeks off.
Good night, guys. Have
All
a
right,
fun
cool.
few weeks.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good one.
Bye. Someone see.